Shalom, it's me, Skye, and I just wanted to make a video talking about a cool little game. Some of you might have heard of it, called Bomberman. I feel like out of all the IPs that I talk about on this channel, Bomberman's probably the one that I talk about the least. And I have such fond memories of playing Bomberman in my childhood with my family. And seeing as, well, the first Bomberman game in years just came out recently, Super Bomberman R, I think it's called. I think it'd be a fitting time to talk about Bomberman. And for this video, I guess I'm only going to be talking about the first three games. And maybe later I'll do the other three games, which, I mean, we'll see what happens. But for the first, well, I mean, I should probably get this settled. If you don't know who Bomberman is, Bomberman's basically, the plot of Bomberman is there's this robot named Bomberman, soon to be later known as, I guess, White Bomberman. He was a robot underground, and he created bombs for a living. And he heard that if he traveled to the surface land, he would turn human, and that's what he did. He went out of the ground and then turned human, and yeah, that's the basic premise of Bomberman. There's not really much plot in the early games of Bomberman. Not that he really needs any. The focus of the actual games is in the game itself, where you walk around in these square-like patterns, and you finagle your Bomberman around these blocks in order to drop bombs that will explode in an XY axis and destroy different blocks. And some blocks can't be destroyed, others can, and that's where the actual puzzle aspect of Bomberman sort of comes into play, where you have to if you want to kill someone with your bomb, you'll have to strategically place your bombs in a pattern in which you could trap your foes or explode your bombs with a good amount of timing at the right place. And but the game of Bomberman is very interesting, and I feel like it's like no other. And when I say I'm going to be talking about the first Bomberman games, I'm talking about the ones on Super Nintendo. I feel like that in my mind, I feel like those just are the first Bomberman games. I didn't play the ones on the NES or any maybe previous arcade versions of the game. In my mind, the ones on Super Nintendo are the Bomberman games. Also the one on Genesis, but I mean, that's another story. But with the first Bomberman game, there's not really much to this one. I never really played the campaign mode of the Bomberman, Super Bomberman, all the way through. I've at least attempted them, but the solo mode isn't where I find the most fun in Bomberman. The local multiplayer, on the other hand, is actually where I have the best memories. And since I'd always play with my brother, I'd always be the Black Bomberman. I personally think he's cooler anyway. I mean, White Bomberman, he's all right. In later games they portray him as the leader character, but Black Bomberman was always cool to me. Which, I mean, I sort of find as a pattern, because in the story of it all, Black Bomberman used to be when he saw that White Bomberman came out the ground, and I guess he heard that if you get out the ground you become human, and he was like a defective robot, and he was enemies with White Bomberman. But after they, I don't think they ever settled their differences. But um, needless to say, they became friends. I think they just like joined forces in this one and to take down greater evil, which that's cool of Black Bomberman. That was all right of him. I don't really have that many memories with the first Super Bomberman game, because for some reason, and I mean, I guess it makes sense that we would just play the second game more. But my brother really liked the Bomberman 2, because I mean, I guess it would be like technically better than the first one. But we did play the second one a lot more than we did the first one, and I think like trying to remember, I think the first one did play a lot slower than the second one did, and I think they were also like the models were shinier than the first one, which I mean I guess it gave the Bomberman a really clean look. But yeah, we did play the second one a lot more, and I think I remember playing the stages in the second one a lot more, which I mean I think they're pretty much the same throughout all the series. Like you got your normal stage where like the floor is green and then everything else is like gray bricks, but you also had your like your tire stage where like all the Bombermen are fast, and you also had like your conveyor belt stage where there was just like treadmills everywhere. But yeah, everywhere there'd be like this same pattern of like stages. But I think the most memorable stage in the second Bomberman game for me would be this stage where you just like bounce around on mushrooms. And I don't think it was in any other Bomberman game. It was just that one. And I'd always like remember that stage whenever we went back to that game. Also, it did think it had a very fancy main menu screen where like white bomber and black Bomberman would just like kick a bomb around, and it would just like go really fast, and then I'd be like, "Oh, that's that's Bomberman 2." And now, lastly, Bomberman 3. Which I know I haven't been like explaining the actual gameplay of it that much, but I mean, besides like what I've already like talked about, there'd always be like these throughout the games there'd be these items that like there'd be like rollerblades that would make you go fast, and like these bomb upgrades that would like make the flame of the bomb go farther. That would be stuck throughout the first and second game and like all the rest of them. I'm not sure if they were in the NES ones, but in the third game, this is the first Bomberman game, unless it was on the Genesis first, that I believe that they added kangaroos. These kangaroos would be a random drop item that would appear after you blew up a block, and there'd be like an egg occasionally. And in that egg, there'd essentially be a nice kangaroo, basically the Yoshi of the Bomberman series. And these kangaroos would have these like special abilities, my favorite one would be like the kangaroo that would kick the blocks, and it would just like make things all distorted for the layout of the land. And I'd always just like kick the blocks at my brother and just like trap him in blocks, and then like make it unescapable unless like I don't know, he dropped a bomb. But sometimes that the bomb would be too close of a corners for him to get any use of it out of it, and he would just like kill himself with his own bomb. And I'd just be like, got him. And then there's like this other kangaroo that would like you could just use it to like punch the living shit out of like the other players, and then like And then they'd be like dazed for a second, and then you could just like trap them with bombs, and then you just like get the drop out of them. And then there'd be like this really fast one that would just like, it would dash across the stage at like light speed. The kangaroos were just like a very nice addition to the Bomberman games. I feel like they were a necessary step to innovating the Bomberman formula. But I've not looked at enough footage to know if the new Bomberman game has the kangaroo thing. I do know that like because I did play one of the recent Bomberman games. There was this one that came out for the Xbox Live and WiiWare, which like it used the Bombermans as like 3D models, and there was no kangaroos. I was very disappointed. I mean, if Bomberman R doesn't have the kangaroos, I mean I wouldn't be surprised. They'd probably use that as like a reason to make a second Bomberman R game, to actually add the kangaroos of which you can ride, because I feel like the kangaroos should be a staple in the games at least. I mean, they're very prevalent in the Super Nintendo ones and Genesis, but I digress. Yeah, so Bomberman 1s through 3 were very good games. If I could choose out of those three, which Bombermans I would play right now, it'd probably be the second or third one. Probably more the third one for the kangaroos, but I mean there are other ones that are way better than the third one. I'd probably go to the second one for nostalgia, but the third one for kangaroos. No real reason to go to the first one. The first one was just, it was Bomberman at its like most basic. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about for Bomberman. Just the very laid back video. Just remembering, just reflecting, because it is very cool that they like after like what 5 maybe 6 years of not making Bomberman games, and then Namco Bandai coming in clutch. Guess they didn't want to have their last Bomberman game be on iOS. But yeah, that's me remembering Bomberman, and I'll see you guys later.